Welcome to the Flower Prophecies, a podcast exploring all things flower essences and remedies and flower therapy, and how this vibrational plant medicine has the potential to heal and shift our individual and collective health and consciousness. We'll be diving deep into the specifics of individual essences, nature's energetics, emotional healing and growth, as well as hearing client case studies, hosting special guests and professionals, and I'll be sharing my own personal explorations and philosophies channeled straight from the flowers. Through my own unearthing, I have discovered what I believe to be the most profound teaching of the flowers, and I now wish to share with you the practice of alchemizing fear into beauty. So before getting into today's episode, I wanted to chat with you all about my new offering, The Blooming. So The Blooming is now open for registration. This is something that I have been putting together for the last few months, and I'm so excited to get started with this. So The Blooming is a monthly group flower therapy experience for the women seeking to shed all fear from their being and to expand their peace and potential and embrace a life of beauty. So commencing in January next year, I've curated 12 powerful remedies for the entire year, each with a specific focus to unearth, month by month, undressing the layers of fear, pain, and conditioning to uncover your core essence. So through the magic of nature, we will be bringing the unconscious into the conscious to alchemize fear into beauty. Although you'll be traversing your unique healing experience, we will be working in live group sessions with myself, guest facilitators, and in an intentional gathering space together, a safe space to explore, be witnessed and reflected and heal as a whole, in connection with community, amplifying our healing potential. This offer will be available to sign up to on a monthly basis, quarterly, half yearly, and for the entire year as well at discounted rates. So I'll be offering limited spaces for this first intake, and I would love to have you, my listeners, along for the journey. So you can find all of the information and everything else about the offering on my website or via the show notes. Yeah, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm super excited to dive into this exploration with you all. So enjoy the show, and I look forward to connecting. All right, so welcome back to the Flower Prophecies. Thank you all who have been listening in the past episodes and last week's episode. I loved so much, so I hope everyone enjoyed it, and thank you for all of the feedback. If at any time throughout today's episode you'd like to check out my offerings, you can do so at hekahealing.com.au or at Heka Healing Flower Therapy on Instagram. I've got everything there, and if you would like to subscribe or rate or share the podcast, I would be so appreciative. It just helps me spread the word and get this magic out there as far and wide as possible. So I am Abby, and I am your host and flower essence practitioner. And today on the show, we have Jessie Giannetto. So Jessie is an energy healer and earth medicine practitioner, and she incorporates flower and plant essences and ceremonial practices in her healing. She is a guide for others to connect with spirit medicine and the world of energy, and she has a passion for supporting others in becoming more embodied and connecting to self. So welcome, Jessie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you for the beautiful introduction.
You're welcome. So let's just kick it right off. If you would love to share a little bit about yourself and how you got to be doing the work that you're doing, and where you are right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think it's hard to follow up on that beautiful introduction. But yeah, I'm Jessie. I'm an energy healer. I'm a teacher, earth medicine practitioner. And how I started on this journey, I've actually been thinking about this the last couple of days, because sometimes it's like, to pinpoint that moment where it actually started. And to be honest, it might be a little bit stereotypical, but it actually started with, I don't know if you've heard of truffles. They're similar to mushrooms, yeah. Yeah. So I was in Amsterdam on a holiday with my girlfriends, and we decided, you know, in a more of a recreational kind of manner to get some truffles and go to Vondel Park.
Oh, good.
And and it was funny because at the time, like, I'm quite sensitive. I've always been sensitive.
Yeah.
And I was quite scared to kind of dive into that world. And I remember in Amsterdam, like, you go to the proper shops and they, you know, they give you a brochure of, you know, what to choose from. And my friends, they actually got like the stronger dose. And they're like, oh no, Jess, like, you just get the weakest of the weak. I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. So I did that. But funny enough, I ended up having the full, like, visual experience. Like, I was definitely the most affected. I was seeing gnomes and trees and like all sorts of things. But something very beautiful happened that day. I feel like it did something to my brain. It changed something in the network in my brain. And I felt like I gained the awe and wonder for nature again.
Wow.
And yeah, honestly, it was like incredible. And it was, luckily we were in this beautiful park, Vondel Park, which I think is like the biggest park in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So it was a beautiful setting. But like I said, it just like gave me back this awe and this wonder. And it was like a very pivotal moment in my life where I felt, probably for the first time since maybe being a child, that, oh, I am nature. You know, I am nature. I'm not connecting to nature. I actually am nature.
Yes.
And I felt like that definitely was the gateway for me.
Yeah.
And then like 6 months, you know, after that, I ended a 4-year relationship and went into, I guess, that self-discovery, that inwards journey, because I'd been in a relationship since I was 14, like on like different relationships, jumped from one to the next. So it was this beautiful timing of, reconnecting to myself. And there was a Reiki healer that I was seeing at the time, my very first Reiki healer. Yeah. And I had a pretty profound experience with her.
Yeah.
And she used flower essences in her practice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was definitely that was like my introduction to the world, or that kind of world. Yeah. And I guess it was just a snowball from there. Went down the rabbit hole, and, you know, different crystals, different plants, different modalities, experiencing them for the first time and having some shifts. And then I met some teachers and felt really called to dive into the work even deeper. And then I found a pretty, I'd say, like, for plant medicine wise, I found my teacher. Asia Sula is her name. I don't know if you're familiar with her. Yeah. And I felt like that as soon as because I stepped out as an energy healer, which it took a lot for me to do that. I felt like I kept trying to do it. Like, I was doing the alternative thing, but I still was trying to do it in a traditional way. Like, I went and studied at college trying to do naturopathy. I'm like, oh, maybe it's health. Like, maybe that's the road I want to go down. But, you know, there was this deep calling. No, like, it's even weirder than that. Like, you're gonna you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it wasn't until I did the plant medicine course with Asia Sula that I felt that, oh, okay, it's the plants.
Yes.
It's the plants.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. I'd love for you to share a little bit more about your experience with her teachings as well, if you're into it. Yeah,
definitely. Okay. So hers was online. It was an online course.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was that long of a course, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember the exact time frame. Was it 6 weeks or was it 12 weeks? I think it was 6 weeks. Yeah. But it was funny because I was working in a real estate at the time, part-time as well. So it was very like this massive contrast.
Yeah.
But what it did for me is it just, I don't know, like, I just viewed the world in such a different way. And the very beautiful thing now, because I lead people on a very similar journey in my online course. Yeah. And they now tell me the same thing. Oh my God, like, I look at the world so differently now. And that's just so special because, you know, what that course did for me and what like I'm so passionate about is just like helping people reclaim that and feel a part of nature and understand all of the beautiful medicine that is surrounding us in a very unique way as well. Like I feel like it's so different for each person and how that awakens in them and the way in which they communicate as well with that realm.
Yeah.
It's very different for each person.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. But it was in the course when we got to flower essences, that's when something really clicked for me.
Yes.
Because I felt like before I didn't, like when I mentioned with the Reiki healer that I was seeing many, many years before that, and I was working with the flower essences, but like I didn't fully understand what a flower essence was.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like there's a confusion that happens with essential oils.
Absolutely.
You probably find the same thing, right?
Yes.
Or like people think they're going to have a smell and it's like, no, like it's, and I understand because I was like very similar to that.
Yeah.
So I felt like once we covered flower essences in that course, something clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is it. Like I want to work with the flowers.
Yes.
And then I felt called to work with the bush flowers, which I believe you work with as well. Yeah. And so I got the practitioner set and the day it arrived in the mail, it was crazy. So it was like I could feel the energy like in my crown.
Yeah.
It was like this heat. And it actually, I've noticed, like I've become aware that when I'm going through like big transitions in my life, like initiations, I'll get this feeling in my crown.
Yeah.
It's like a heat and a tingling. Yeah. And it can last for days. And it did. And it was like all of these downloads and this energy, like, coming into my life and into my practice.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
They're very special. I love the bush flowers.
Yeah. I'm a little bit the same as you in like, I actually didn't know how, like the magic of them, right? So like, it's like, you don't know that, just that piece of information that switches how you like view them. Like it's really hard to, I guess, conceptualize like the depth of how they can work for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Australia has the oldest plants like in the world.
Exactly.
Some of the oldest plants in the world. So there's such a wisdom there.
Yeah, absolutely there is. And I was just chatting on my last episode with a client of mine and, you know, she was speaking of that, like just her, the difference in her, how she felt drawn to working with the Australian bushflower essences over, say, the bark essences and just how much more aligned they feel and like how that is so for us on the land that we're native to, you know, that we come from, that they're so much more powerful. Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. It's funny because I brought this up with someone, I think it was last week. We were talking about bark flowers and like, you know, it's all love. But I was saying that exact thing. I'm like, I actually bought ages ago, I bought a couple of the bark flower. Yeah. I still haven't opened them. Like there's not that calling. I don't have that.
I'm the same. I've never, apart from using Rescue Remedy, you know, growing up, I've never been called to work with any of them. And it's just like that thing. It's like, it's not for me because it's not for, like, I'm not from the land that it's from. So it's just not calling me.
So true.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, I guess, because it is very obvious your like deep connection with nature and with the earth and with the, you know, medicine of the earth. And I was going to ask if that was always your experience. And obviously you say that got reawakened in you with this journey you took with the truffles. But can you think back to like when you're a child, you mentioned, like, did you have that deep connection then?
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like it was very apparent as a child, you know, just not like I would knit skirts, me and my friend, it's really cute, we'd knit skirts and we'd go leave them under the mushrooms with the fairies.
Stop
like,
it.
You know, we actually would. And then we go back, we're like, have they taken them? Have they taken them? I never took them.
I love it.
But I feel, and you know what, like, I feel like my dad had a big part of that as well because he has such, like he still holds that awe for nature. He always has. Like even yesterday, there was a a blue-tongue lizard in our front yard, and he was just pulling up, and we were on the phone. I'm like, there's a blue tongue, Dad. He's like, don't move, I want to see it. He was like, he took it so seriously.
Yeah.
You know? So I felt like he definitely, like, we shared that when I was a kid. And then, I guess I always had animals, definitely. I was a vet nurse. That was my my muggle job.
Love it.
So always had that deep connection for animals. But I guess once I started to become more sensitive and really waking up to, the multi-dimensionality, I couldn't be in that environment anymore. And I guess it was just a shifting of where my heart wanted to be as well. But so definitely always felt that connection, but it was like a re-remembering that definitely took place. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. I can resonate with that as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's funny as well. I was just reflecting on what you were mentioning about your father and, his awe of the natural world. And it's, I find it so interesting that we we always talk about like how we take on, these maybe more negative, for lack of a better aspect in generational, stuff. But we really think about like how we take on those beautiful, like inspiring aspects of like the awe for nature and connection to nature and like
so
how
true
that can be passed down in generations. Yeah.
I think it's such a human thing. We naturally tend to focus on the negative, right?
Yeah. Something we need to change. That is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And
I agree.
I think the flower essences have the ability to help us shift that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's exactly like their medicine, right?
Absolutely. So, I mean, you spoke a little bit about your experience with working a little bit with the flower essences when you were doing the Reiki, and then also while you did your course, covering the flower essences and how they can work. But I would love to hear how the actual flower essences have had an impact on you, actually working with them, with yourself, life. Yeah.
I feel like it was definitely once I received that practitioner set.
Yes.
It really set in, and they just started showing up in such obvious ways.
Yes.
Like you couldn't ignore it.
No, yeah.
Like the most magical synchronicities would take place.
I love it.
And even now I feel like it's just been this journey of deepening into that. And I go through my phases. Like sometimes I work more closely. I feel called to work more closely with them, but they've definitely been the biggest allies in my healing journey and just really unraveling and going into the layers of healing and integrating it as well.
Yeah,
because it's like, healing can be mental. Like that is definitely an aspect of healing, but I feel like the beautiful thing that they provide is working on that energetic and body level, like helping us get to that so that the healing is embodied. And that's when I feel like long-term change can happen.
Yes.
It's not superficial, it's very deep.
Yes.
And returning back to ourselves. And I feel like that's definitely how they've really shown up in my life, whether that's like really showing me where my heart lays or what my intuition is or guiding me down a particular path. Yes. It's just really, they just really show you the way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They really are just a guide. They literally show you the way. And it's like, it's hard to sort of explain articulate the impact of how much they do that without experiencing it yourself, because they will literally present you with exactly what you need.
You're like, really?
Simple? Literally. And it's funny because what I'm sort of noticing as well is like because the act that they're having is really connecting us back, like reconnecting us with nature, with ourselves. And it's like those signs and those, you know, that guidance is there in our everyday without the flower essences. It's just that we're so not here. We're not here to notice it. We're not connected enough to, you know, notice it when it's presenting. And that's what the flowers, I believe, do, you know. Yeah.
True. That's so true.
Yeah.
But even like in receiving the flower essences, you know, I like to remind clients that they're working on a very subtle level.
Yeah.
And actually, I think back to when I was first introduced to them, I found that they would, like, how I would understand how they were working was in the dream world, right?
Yes. Beautiful. Yeah.
Because, you know, you're not busy rushing around thinking about everything else.
Yeah.
It's a way of, really seeing what energy is moving. You know what I mean? It's like, even if you're working with a flower essence and you don't really know what's going on, like, you know, like
they're still doing that work, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now it's like knowing how to tap more into that subtle realm, and taking that time. Or even like sometimes I'm not paying attention, I'm busy, I'm running around, I'm rushing. And then I'll just literally for a second, I like take a breath, whatever. I feel called to just stop for a second, take a breath, and I'll just have a flower absolutely like charge into my awareness.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. Like, sometimes that's all it takes, just like a second.
Yeah.
And it's like, hello.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I actually, random question. I don't know if you remember or not. But do you remember when after you got your kit arrive and do you remember the first essence or remedy that you worked with for yourself?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember.
No, that's all right.
I really don't remember. I wish I did.
Maybe it'll come to you.
Yeah,
come to you.
For some reason, bottle brush.
Oh yeah. Like
I don't remember it. But I'm just thinking bottle brush.
Yeah,
so that could be it.
Yeah.
Do you remember what yours was?
I do. So it's funny, and I talk about this a little bit, but because I've used flower essences, like my mum did the course like years ago. And so I used them when I was like growing up, and I used them as a teenager, but I never used them knowing what I was taking, like, or how they were working or anything like that. Right.
Yeah.
And then I used them with like kinesiologists and other practitioners in other treatments. But when I had that moment as well, like yourself, where I actually read into them and like started researching how they worked and was like, no way. You know, and I had that moment. And then so like I obviously got hooked like you, and I got the kit. And so I remember the first essences that I worked with was a combination of two, and I just picked them out of the flower deck intuitively.
Oh, beautiful.
Like, you know what? I'm just going to trust it. I'm just going to put these two together. And it was turkey bush and daggerheckia. And
daggerheckia.
Oh nice. My God.
That would have been big.
It was yeah, it was an intense experience. And I was just reflecting on this myself the other day, actually, because this was about 2 years ago that I started actually working with them in this way. And I think it was really showing me I think it was really showing me the way in which I was to work with them, with other people, you know.
Ooh,
straight up. So it like gave me this really profound physical purge and
oh wow.
Yeah, it was pretty like full on, but it was like so it was so there for me that I couldn't ignore it, and I couldn't sort of like it was very much a message of, this is like the medicine that you're working with.
Wow.
Your journey into healing with them. And I actually was going to ask you, because what's been coming up for me lately with working with my clients is I'm having these the plants and the flowers are working in such a powerful way. You know, they're really not backing down. They're really you know, while they're still gentle, they're really like showing people like where they're to step up in the world and where they're to step up in their power. And I was wondering if you've had that same experience of the flowers sort of working in this way that's a bit more powerful.
Like I get what you're saying. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. A story that comes to mind.
Yeah.
This is something that happened recently, maybe a couple of weeks ago now. I had this dream, and in the dream, there were these tiny red ants. Well, actually, it was just one tiny red ant.
Yeah.
It was a fire ant. Yeah. And in the dream, I was so scared of this tiny little ant.
Yeah.
And I woke up in the morning and I was like, oh, you just know the dream has a deeper meaning.
Yes. Yeah.
So I looked up red ant. I'm like, yeah, it was a fire ant. I was like, okay, I don't really get it. Like, I just don't get the dream. Whatever. Like, maybe it will come to me later. Then I was making a flower essence, like a customized flower essence for a very dear client. And I was tuning into her energy. And God, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, but Mulla Mulla came through.
Yeah.
And as I'm sure you're probably aware, it's for fear of fire.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I still didn't really connect the dots. And yeah, as much as I like to work with the essences intuitively, I'm also very intellectual in a way of like, I love looking them up in a book and reading about.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's got to be the combination.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I was reading about it in Ian White's book. And it's actually a really good book because it goes in depth, not with every single essence, but it did for this particular essence. And this is where it connected for me. I started reading about it, and he started to talk about how it helps people who in a previous life have been burnt at the stake.
Yeah.
And there's this connection with this particular client where that's what I've always felt. There's a past life connection there.
Yeah.
Like our families come from the same little town in Sicily.
Yeah.
And just looking at her, every time I look at her, I'm just like, you're a witch. Like, I don't know how to explain that. She just, her features, just everything. It's just like, I've always felt that. So when I read that that's what this essence is for, and then I remembered my dream, oh my God, I was scared of the fire ants.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was like representing the fire element. And just like this essence coming through, just the very next day, it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that has been happening a lot more lately, where that similar thing you were saying. Yeah. Even with my clients, it's like, oh my gosh, you can't deny this. You can't deny it. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think spirit has a beautiful way of doing that. And I feel like, on my journey back before, when, I was still skeptical, there were just these experiences time and time after again, where you're just like, okay, I can't, like, you can't logically, you can't explain it with logic.
No.
There's something so much bigger happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel with the Australian plants, they are powerful. And I think people can kind of overlook the power there, or they feel like, maybe because it's a flower essence, it can't have that, visceral or physical experience from them. But no, you definitely can. I feel like there's always an innate intelligence there.
Yeah.
And that intelligence knows exactly what you need.
Okay.
And it's very different for each person. Their experience will be different. And if you're not ready to receive it in its totality, then, it's a timing thing as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is the thing, is they meet you where you're at. So they give you what it is that you're ready for. And I'm just finding so many women, and not just women as well, but particularly what I've been noticing is so many women are ready to step into that like power. So the flowers. Oh,
that's beautiful. I love how you put that, because it is such a mirror, right?
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
beautiful. I love it. Yeah. So you touched on this a little bit before about like from the course you did, seeing the unique way that different people sort of work with the flowers and with this medicine. And I would love to hear a little bit, like I'm noticing that as well, the more people I speak to that work in this realm of like their individual take on working with it and their unique take on working with it. And I would love to hear like how it is that you sort of feel called a bit more in depth, how you feel called to work with them, and how you came to sort of find this and unearth this way of working.
I love working on the body with people. So taking people on a guided meditation, connecting in, doing the energy work. And I find there's a moment where, I might be working over a particular area or there's some energy that's not shifting. That's when the flowers want to come in.
Yeah.
And, there's different ways that I like to choose the essences. Sometimes I'll muscle test. Sometimes, it's just like an intuitive thing, whatever it may be. But I find it's just like this magical experience of, I might muscle test and a particular flower will come through and it's just like the most fitting, most perfect, energy that you could ask for in that moment. And I love to place them over the meridian points.
Beautiful.
On the body where I feel called. And then, work with Reiki or, whatever I feel in that moment to really activate that in the person's energy. And there's some beautiful things that have happened from that. One of them, probably the more memorable ones, a friend of mine, her grandmother had just passed and she couldn't feel the emotion of grief. She just couldn't feel any emotion towards it at this point. And I'll never forget, she was laying down and Bluebell wanted to come through. And I placed a drop over her heart. And I felt like this energy move as soon as I placed it on her body. And she just began to cry. And she had this, beautiful emotional release. And so I love working with them on the body. And then sometimes people will, or like I'll feel like maybe they need to work with that flower for a longer period. So then I'll make them a remedy and they can go and integrate and take that after the session. Or I'll make personalized remedies for people.
Beautiful.
But so that particular method of placing it on the body was through the course that I did. She had that. I can't remember what she called it. I can't remember what she called it, but obviously like I've adapted it and changed it in a way that works for me. And now my students are doing the same. I have a student who likes to work with essential oils. That's what she feels called. She doesn't, she tried the whole flower essence thing, but that obviously wasn't her medicine. Right. And so now she's adapted this, this offering for how it works for her. And it's a beautiful thing.
I think it's really powerful. And it's a funny sort of thing to, I guess, when you come from this world of like, learning from others, you go to school and you learn and you do it that way and then blah, blah, blah.
Right.
That it's really like beautiful to be able to like allow yourself to fall into what is right for you and to take on the learnings and the teachings and then to sort of receive your own teachings, whether that be from nature or from source, whatever it may be, and really just like fall into like your own practice of doing that and 100%. Following that, because it can be really difficult to like you get caught up in like what you should do and like what other people are doing and all of the things, and it's just like so empowering to actually sit back and like sort of accept like actually I can do it this way because this is what feels good for me,
100%. And I feel like courses give us that foundation and maybe they give us that confidence to step out and to do the work, but then it's just about trusting how the energy moves through you, like what you feel guided. And it's just I feel like for me, the more I trust that the more powerful the sessions become. And I think that's for everyone, just really trusting your connection to spirit above everything else.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And again, it's something that the flowers can gift you, right? That's something that you can work with them to sort of like integrate into your way of being and into embodying, like you say.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd love to know what you find most exciting about working with earth and nature in this way, and also like the potential or possible potential that the earth and nature and, you know, spirit holds for the collective in the future. What lights you up about it?
That is a big question. Well, I feel like, you know, the plants are here to support in the evolution of the planet.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's through, you know, psychedelics, you know, some people need the more extreme. Like even for me, like I've sat with plant medicine a few times in my life, and they've served beautiful, they've served a big purpose in my life, and they really helped, you know, with my healing and understanding of the world around me. But I don't feel called to work in those ways anymore. I feel more called to work with the flower essences and, you know, the more subtle but just as powerful in ways. And yeah, I really do feel that that's what the plants are here for. They're here to help us do the inner work, reclaim who we are on a soul level, and to really turn towards it, you know, not numb it, not, you know, try and focus, or turn towards our shadow, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Turn towards and integrate these aspects of our life. And, you know, that's even generational or previous lifetimes. You know, there's no boundaries to this work. Like it's massive. And I really feel like there are allies in that.
Yes.
And it's just fun as well. Like I just love that they show up in these beautiful synchronistic ways. Like I just love it. It just brings the magic and the wonder back to the world. And I feel like that's what we need more than ever. You know, we need to feel that deep gratitude for the earth. And, you know, not just for ourselves, but for the earth as well.
Yeah.
Like the earth needs that. The earth needs us to remember and to look after her, because she looks after us. And I hope that answers the question. But
yeah, absolutely, totally does. I think you touched on it in there as well, is like, you know, to connect us back to ourselves from being so, you know, a lot of us are so disconnected, not just from nature, but from ourselves, to the point that, you know, going out there numbing it all, and we're focused on the things that we have and the things we can do, rather than like being with ourselves. And I think, like you were saying, so what we get from the plants is we begin to connect back to them, right? And when we're connecting to the plants, we're ultimately connecting back to ourselves. So the more we connect with the plants, the less disconnected we become with ourselves, because we can't possibly be disconnected from ourselves when we're connected with the plants, right?
100%. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were talking about loneliness, you know, and the epidemic of loneliness. And I do feel like once you have that connection, that deep connection to the earth and to yourself, because like you said, ultimately the same thing. Yeah. I'm not saying you're never going to feel lonely again, but you kind of don't. Like, it's just like you feel so nourished and supported. And
no, I agree. You have that solace of like knowing that like you're not alone, even if there may not be a human around you. Alone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's something so beautiful in that. I feel like it's the medicine, and it's what we need. Like, it can be a scary place. It can be a scary world if you know, you lack that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be. Like you say, there's joy and fun in the connecting with the plants as well. And so it's like, again, the more you connect with that joy, the less scary the world becomes.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I would love to hear if you have at the moment, because I know personally this shifts all of the time and it's always sort of changing and moving in and out. But what sort of flower or plant would be your favorite to work with at the moment?
Well, one has shown up recently. I actually haven't started working with it yet. So this is definitely like a bit of a cosmic kick up the butt. Like, you know, like, yeah.
I'm interested to hear this because I'm like, there's something showing up for me too, and I haven't worked with it. I'm like,
oh, wow. Okay.
The same thing.
That would be crazy. Well, it's actually pawpaw.
Oh.
I've never worked with pawpaw before.
Really? Yes.
Yeah, I haven't. And it makes sense why it's shown up. It showed up in my dream, but it was interesting because in the dream, I knew it was pawpaw, and in the dream I was saying pawpaw, but it looked like passion flower. Or like a close sister or a cousin or something, because it wasn't exactly passion flower, but it looked similar. And I guess what I kind of got from that was, okay, maybe that's how this energy will work for me as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's got those similar components to passion flower.
Yeah.
But it does make sense why it's shown up, because I have a business coach at the moment, or like a bit of like a life coach, I think you'd call her. I don't really know the name for it, but she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's definitely like a kindred spirit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of new information being thrown at me through this process.
Yeah.
And that's what pawpaw is for. It's to help assimilate new ideas and to, So I feel like that will be the one I'm going to work with. And I'm actually going to make that after this.
Amazing. Yes.
But how about you? What was your one?
Actually, so it wasn't one of the Australian bushflower ones, but it's something that's showing up for me, and it's a hibiscus.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So
I love the hibiscus.
Yeah. So interesting. So I'll see what comes about of that.
Yeah. So it's like beautiful, like sacral energy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So,
I feel like that would be a nice energy to work with.
Yeah. It's funny because it's one of those flowers I've never really connected with that much, like, or been that drawn to. But in the last few weeks, it's just like showing up.
Funny how that happens, hey?
Yeah.
Or like there's even some flowers that I think are so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. But I just don't have that calling to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, so that'll be interesting. But have you worked with the passion flower yourself?
I actually haven't. I haven't worked with, I've had like tea. Actually, I have. I lie. I haven't had a flower essence, but I've definitely had passion flower tea. But that was another one, because our neighbor grows passion flower, and it always grows over our side of the fence.
Yes.
And it's, that flower to me.
Oh my gosh.
It's like an alien. It's just
literally
incredible. Yeah. Like, what the hell?
It's crazy.
And I'm like, I really want to make a flower essence, but like I didn't. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
not the right time.
Yeah. It's not the right time.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting the way that it showed up for pawpaw. So I feel like there's some sort of connection there, definitely.
Yeah. I worked with the passion flower last year, I think, maybe.
Oh, you've worked with it?
Yeah, I worked with it last year. Found it to be a lot of like stepping into like that leadership and sort of. That's
interesting. That's so interesting.
Really,
that makes sense.
Leading the way for others, actually for you. So it's like leading the way for others to step into their power, right? And so like I just think of you with your plant spirit course and like what you were speaking of before, like allowing others to step into their power. So it's like really like being that figure that allows others to
I love that.
Yeah, step into that.
I feel like you've just given me an answer, so thank you.
Beautiful. You're so welcome.
So good.
Awesome.
I love that.
So good. I love it. I could talk about this stuff all day.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Very easy. Just, yeah.
So speaking of your course, so
yeah,
your Plant Spirit course, you guide others to work in this realm and to be able to connect with nature in this same way. How has this experience been in guiding others to sort of tap into their connection? I know you spoke a little bit about one of your clients before, but yeah, overall, how has that sort of been for you? So synchronistic that I was asking this question right after.
Yeah. Honestly, it's just been, right? It's so perfect. It's honestly been so beautiful and so individual for each person.
Yeah.
There was one particular student who's an artist, and because in the course I take people on shamanic journeys to meet their animal guides, their plant guides.
Beautiful.
And they would come out of the experience with these beautiful artworks of flowers and like all of these like light codes, light language, like just like the most incredible art pieces of art.
Oh my God.
And and I'm just like, wow, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't even have the words for it. It's just like, oh, how beautiful is that? And, now hearing about their experiences as stepping out as healers, which, one particular student was a client of mine.
Yeah.
So there was just like this beautiful, like coming full circle,
Yes.
It's just a beautiful thing to witness. And it showed me how, like I mentioned, how individual it is for each person and how they connect. Like, I give them the tools on how to connect, but I also, I really like to encourage that it's, how this world opens up for you and what gifts you have, what unique gifts you have, and how you feel energy, how these plants show up in your life. I really like to encourage that. And, it's not about giving people all this information on different flowers either. It's about giving them the guidance and perhaps that, how do I say it? Like reminding them of their power, so that they, trust themselves to be able to go and connect with this realm in their own way. And I have different practices throughout the course. And one of them is a medicine walk. So they go through and they walk and somewhere in nature and they see what plants speak to them. And, there's a beautiful exercise that comes with that. But it's because I have people from other countries being like, oh, but, is this going to be about Australian flowers?
Yeah.
I was like, no, it's whatever flowers are growing around you. What flowers are growing in your backyard?
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Like they're usually the ones that are for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually recently had this experience. I've had it's actually not a flower, but a weed.
Oh, okay.
That has been sort of like that guidance for me for like, it's kind of the thing that has led me in ways down this path of working with the essences, right? And it's always something that that has been in my field, and I've worked with it in like tincture form or like eaten the weed or like, added it to food or dry.
Is it dandelion?
No, it's gotu kola.
Okay.
Gotu kola.
What's it called?
Gotu kola.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I'm familiar.
Yeah. And it's always around me. It's surrounding me. Like that's not something different for like where I live. Like it does grow wild here, but it's definitely that thing that's always presenting to me, in wherever I go and in these specific ways. And, I'll pick up a random book like on a shelf and flip to a page and it's about gotu kola. It's always like that about this one thing that's speaking to me. And I just recently made up an essence from it. And I had the most transformational experience of my life.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's so cool.
It's really is that. It's like whatever is connecting to you, you know, it doesn't have to be anything like particular or have to be like from Australia or from, you know, it's just what is speaking to you is meant for you there. It's going to be growing in your backyard probably. Yeah.
We love to romanticize it, don't we?
Yeah,
we do. We love to romanticize it, but it usually will be the weeds growing in your backyard.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, wow, that's such a. I want to write that. I want to write that flower down because I feel like I need to have a visual of what that flower is now.
Well, it doesn't. I don't know if it actually has a flower. I just.
Oh, it doesn't flower.
No, I think it might flower tiny, tiny little flowers but very rarely. But I actually just used it as the leaf of it, and you made an essence from the leaf of it because I've never made a plant like with a leaf essence before. And then I had a woman on the podcast a couple of weeks ago and she works plant essences and making them.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. And the gynecologist had been calling me for a few days and I was like, right.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's done something to my brain. Yeah. Now I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes. Yeah. And it was powerful. Let me tell you, like it was,
it'd be a different energy, I imagine, right?
Absolutely. It worked on a completely different level. Yeah.
Because I know there's the green essence.
Yes.
With the bush flowers.
And the green essence has more of like a physical, I feel like, physical effect than the flowers, right?
Yeah, it is about the purge, right?
Yeah. So
that's come up a few times for me and I still haven't taken that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a timing thing, definitely.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Always.
Always.
I love it. Yeah, beautiful. Oh, so I would love to, because I had a question about, but I feel like you kind of covered it before. You can go into it as again if you'd like to. But I kind of try and ask everyone this one is, what do you believe the collective needs most at the moment? So if you have anything to add on it.
I guess, it kind of doesn't, well, in a way it does come back to plant medicine, but I feel like we need fun.
Yes,
we need fun.
Thank you. I love it.
And that was a reminder for myself going to this. I was mentioning before the call that I went to a wedding in Tamworth on the weekend and, it just got silly. I was dancing, my life away. And I just woke up feeling so renewed. I even I had quite a bit to drink and everything. Like I really let my hair down.
Yeah.
And physically I didn't feel great the next day, but emotionally and spiritually I was like renewed.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, I need to have some more fun. Like I really, and like we're in that time of the year where we're kind of gearing into that, right? The silly season. But it doesn't mean you have to go and drink. That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
But I feel like, there are some big things going on in the world. And I don't think we should ever ignore that either. I feel like we facing our shadow, even like on a collective scale, is really important, right?
Yeah.
But also it's remembering our fun and our joy and doing the things that, really help us tap into that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because life can get heavy without that. It really can. Even with doing the inner work, if we're just focusing on doing that all the time, which is very easy to fall into. I think that happens to a lot of us.
Yeah.
It's remembering our fun.
Yeah.
I feel like that is what I feel the collective needs.
So true. It's funny too, because we ended up somewhere on the last week's podcast, and the end thing was this as well, as the finding the joy in amongst like the healing as well, because I feel like allows us to heal so much with so much more ease when we can find the joy in it, as well as what it is we're sort of going through and moving through. So
very true. And both can exist at the same time.
Absolutely. I 100% agree that they both can exist. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One doesn't cancel out the other. We need both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So is there anything else you would like to share with the guests, with the podcast? Anything?
No, I feel like that was just such a beautiful conversation. I feel so like alive after that.
Yay. Oh, me too. That was so great. Thank you so much for being here. So beautiful to chat with you. And I'm sure everyone's going to, be very inspired by what you've shared. So if you would like to, if people would like to find you and your offerings, courses and your other offerings, where can they do so?
So, well, my Instagram is Jessie_Giannetto.
Double N.
Which is, double N, double T. So GIANNETTO. And my website is jessicagiannetto.com.au. Perfect. So you can find me there. Beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much. This is, it's been really beautiful. It's been lovely connecting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope we can connect more in the future for sure.
Absolutely. I want to actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to.
Well, I'm because before I was doing it just like once a year, I'd open registration.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling called to open up that registration and just having it there for people to do when they feel called to do it. So that's something I'm going to be doing.
Awesome. That's
very soon.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, everybody, you have heard that, so you can go on and check this course out. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in again. If you would like to find me on Instagram, you can at the Flower Prophecies. And again, I would be so appreciative if you could share or comment or rate or subscribe on the channel you're listening on. And thanks again for tuning in, and I'll be back next week.